future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Okay, you gave me one of my favorite ones. You do it every week. All right. How many people are in the studio today? Just a couple of hundred? Just judging by the clapping there, right? It's like every week. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Kobylt and Friends, everybody. And as you can see, the studio audience is growing and growing. Kurt, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. So it probably helps if I talk into the mic.
My gosh, have you been running around? We are short-staffed today.
Yeah, exactly.
Because one of our dearly beloved that we adore is not feeling well. So you're doing about 5 jobs at once.
Yeah.
So we're a couple seconds late here, but that's
Of course.
okay. You can catch your breath.
Oh, okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Did you watch any of what was going on last night politically? You know I love to talk about it.
Yeah. I unfortunately, I've been running the place since Tony's been gone, so I hadn't had a chance to really catch my breath here.
Okay, so should I fill you in a little bit?
Yeah, if you could, I would love to know what's going on or what's happened.
I mean, Sanders took Michigan. It was a little bit of a surprise. Most people know that by now, but I was surprised as well. And then Hillary took Mississippi, and then Trump took 4 out of 5 states. Rubio was it Rubio or who took the other state? Was it who took the 4th? Cruz. Yep, Rubio just didn't even make it on there. So I'm looking forward to next Tuesday.
Oh yeah,
what happens.
It's going to be
because
exciting.
next Tuesday with Florida, that's really going to tell a lot and see what happens. At least clearly on the Republican side.
Yeah.
So.
Well, at what point does the Democratic side, is it official? What is the no point of return in terms of Bernie and Hillary?
We got a ways to go there.
Yeah, because it's pretty neck and neck, right?
Yeah, and especially what happened yesterday. It was a bit of an upset. So it's still out there. I mean, nobody really knows what will happen. You can predict it, like all these analysts. They love to stand up there and predict, but they don't really know what they're talking about. Because if they did, in the very beginning when Trump started this whole thing, everyone said, he won't make it. And what did I say at the very beginning? Oh, you watch. Yes, he will. He's a strong candidate. He's a smart guy, whether you like him or not.
Oh, yeah.
He's somebody you can't ignore.
Exactly.
Anyway, so we have a pretty good show today.
Yes.
Right now, we have on a very, very interesting woman, a smart woman from up in Silicon Valley. Her name is Trae Vassalo. Hi, Trae.
Hello.
A little bit about Trae. She invests in she's an investor in technology companies up there in Silicon Valley. How many years have you been doing that?
I've been investing for about 10, and before that, I co-founded a company, and before that, I was an engineer making products.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why we have you on today is because you were someone who participated in and actually spearheaded a survey called The Elephant in the Valley. So explain to us what that is and how you even got to doing the Elephant in the Valley. It's a very important topic, and it's something that all of us as women are interested in. I know that I've been on that end of being discriminated against in this business, but it's particularly with what's going on up in Silicon Valley, I want to hear about it. So go ahead.
Sure thing. So the Elephant in the Valley was simply a survey that we sent out to lots of senior executives, senior women.
About
in
200,
Valley.
right? You had about 200 women that you sent it out to, or at least who responded.
Yeah, we got over 200 respondents, and the idea was really just to take the temperature of their experiences in the working world. And the impetus for that was about a year ago. I testified in the Ellen Pao trial, and in that process, I had to talk publicly about a harassment experience that I went through. And what was shocking to me was just the number of women who reached out to me after that conversation, who said, thank you for sharing your experience. And by the way, here's my story.
Well, let's back it up a little bit. You were both at the time working for Kleiner Perkins. How do you say that? Caulfield and Byers? Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I spent 10 years as an investor at KPCB, and so it was just fascinating to me to have so many people reaching out and so many women sharing similar stories. I felt, in going through my experiences, incredibly alone, and also just questioning, what did I do that caused this to happen? And so I got all of this feedback from, people I didn't even know. And then I started talking to my friends going, this is really surprising to me. And then I also learned that all of my closest friends also had very similar stories.
But essentially, Ellen sued the company, correct, for $16 million. She lost that lawsuit, but still, because of that, brought to light all of the discrimination that seems to be going on up in Silicon Valley, correct? That's how this whole thing started.
Well, what I will say, so there was a court case where she
Right.
sued KP, but that really did spark a conversation more broadly about women's experiences in Silicon Valley, and it started my own personal conversation with a bunch of my peers. And what became really obvious is that all of us have had very similar experiences, from harassment on one end of the spectrum to a lot of unconscious gender bias on the other end of the spectrum. And so part of our goal in doing the survey was to basically get a number of senior women and understand their experiences in the workplace, but really bring that data forward in a way that isn't finger pointing. There's no one, saying that someone else did something horrible. It's just looking at the data so we can get a sense of what's the reality of those experiences today. And, the data was, I think we say, it was both empathetic and incredibly eye-opening. It was empathetic to know that, okay, all of these experiences that I've had are actually something that most women
that someone else has
have
been
also.
through it too. Because how many times have I been through something and I look around the room and I think, all right, Kurt, not you. And I'll look around the room and I'll think, gosh,
Yeah.
is anyone else going through this too? And you feel so alone.
Right.
And it's so good to know that out there, especially among women who are really up there in their careers, that they're going through this too. Why don't you give us an example of some of the questions that you'd ask some of the people?
Sure. Well, I'll start with the sexual harassment one. So we
Yeah.
asked women how many have had unwanted sexual advances in the workplace, and 60% of these women had had unwanted sexual advances. And we said, check all that apply, and 79% of those were from colleagues, 71% were from clients, and 65% were from supervisors. And these were things that clearly were happening more than once. And so a couple of examples. We also asked women anecdotes, because it's one thing to have the numbers, but it's another thing to put a story around, okay, what does that actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the stories we heard was, once a client asked me to sit on his lap if he wanted to buy my products. My company didn't do anything about it, and so I asked to be taken off that client. And so a common theme is a woman gets put in a position and then ultimately has to step out of a situation that puts her at a disadvantage in the workplace.
There's no doubt. But, as you know, women, this goes on everywhere. But do you feel like it's almost even more pervasive there? Because what's the ratio of men to women up there in the tech industry? Are there a lot more men, I would imagine, who are working up there than women?
It depends on where you look. So, if you're looking in the senior positions in a lot of the emerging tech companies, it's dominated by men. But if you look lower down into the companies, at the entry level spots, it's still not equal, but there are a lot more women. I don't have the exact numbers. I was looking at a stat around how much money goes to women-led venture-backed companies, and it's 2% of the venture dollars go to women-led venture-backed companies. So there's still a massive.
That's incredible. 2% of the dollars. That's incredible. Why? Because they would, because they're women. That's what you've come up with, or
there's a whole host of reasons. It's everything from the pipeline of women in tech industries to the number of women venture capitalists. Mm-hmm. All of those things make a difference, and so that's why there is no one silver bullet. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it starts with, we have to make the work environment better for women and men. And so again, the data in the survey goes to show not only are there still harassment issues, but the other, I think, even more interesting area are all the sort of conscious and unconscious bias issues.
What surprised me a little bit when you say unconscious, the men in your survey were saying, "Oh, I had no idea." I mean, come on, do you really believe that? They know what they're doing.
And we've been very clear with this survey. We have all worked with lots and lots of amazing men who've been incredibly supportive. So, this is definitely not about tech bashing. It's not about men bashing whatsoever. But there is, even women have bias. Mm-hmm. We're societally biased. We judge women on a different measurement scale than we judge men. And, that adds up over time. And I think that actually came out in and some of this unconscious bias questioning that we had, where, we have this Goldilocks problem for women, where we have 84% of women in our survey were told at some point in their careers they were too aggressive, and 50% were told they're too quiet.
Okay, that's
Now,
happened to me too. And it's so irritating. I think, well, what am I supposed to do? So I come to work the next day, I try to be a little less, aggressive, and then that doesn't work. And then you try and go the opposite direction. In other words, you really can't change you can't, because it's a much larger issue. That's not the problem. I mean, you can't run around changing people's personalities, right?
Well, but I think it's different than that. It's also, are men being judged on that same scale?
No.
Probably not, right? So how many successful men do you think have been told they're too aggressive? Right?
This is what I'm saying. That's why I said no. That just doesn't happen. How many men do they'll blow their stack, they lose their cool, and yet they're not labeled with a name like aggressive. Do you know what I mean? Yet for a woman, you get the label, you get the name. Pisses me off.
Right.
So it does. It's happened to me. It happened to me especially early on in my career. It happened quite a bit. And I have stories that were pretty nasty. And so anyway, so after this survey, where do you go with this next?
Well, that's a great question. I think there are a lot of places this can go. Right now, what we're doing is just trying to get this data out there so people have an understanding of, okay, things maybe aren't as happy for women in the workplace as everyone thought. And what we want is for this to help inspire a lot of other different initiatives. For
such
example, what was that?
I said such as.
For example, the other day I was meeting with a limited partner, which is a group that invests in venture funds. So they're the capital that goes into venture funds, which ultimately goes into startup companies. And this particular person I was talking to said they were so inspired by the survey and the data that they're actually pulling together a whole new pool of capital to target
that's great.
A more gender balanced set of venture investors, which it's little things like that. That's actually not little. That's a big deal. More capital towards a more diverse set of investors means more capital flowing towards a more diverse set of entrepreneurs. And so we need a lot of those little things. So we're hoping this sparks a lot of discussions by a lot of folks in a lot of different areas.
What you went to Stanford, correct? Graduate school
at
Stanford. How many women are in those programs as opposed to men?
It depends, and it's changing. I think one of the really interesting things with Stanford University is that their undergrad computer science program is now the largest major in the school and has a really large percentage of women. I don't want to quote it because I'm going to misquote it, but it's on the order of 40% now, which is absolutely fantastic.
I also think it's something like this needs to be handled also at the grassroots level when you're in school, and just say, look, this can happen when you're out there and when you're in the company. And for men, maybe there's a course for men and women that they can take, that this is wrong, and here's how women are perceiving the way certain things are happening. Do you know what I mean? Or at least something, something needs to be done at the grassroots level so that when they're finally out there working, that maybe they stop.
Absolutely. Well, and since we did the survey, we also have a website called elephantinthevalley.com. We actually asked women to come to the site, share their experiences anonymously. And one of the things we want to do is really pull together, some sort of book of sorts that's got a lot of these experiences, in different areas, so that people entering the workforce can get a sense of, okay, I've experienced this. Is this common? How did people handle it? What did they do? So that you're not thinking that, I can't believe that I'm in these meetings and people keep asking this question to the guys and not me. Well, it turns out that happens to, 84% of women in the survey.
And it doesn't just happen at work. It happens in life. Sometimes I'll be part of a conversation, and then the guys will start talking to each other, and I'll sort of insert myself, and they're still not looking in my direction. And then, as women will often do, we'll say to ourselves, like, oh my gosh, am I just not participating properly in the conversation? Or my questions not so interesting? And then we start to second guess ourselves. And we have to stop doing that, But in the same note, it would be nice if we were included in the conversation, but that's just not always going to happen.
Yeah, and again, it's hard not to second guess when you don't realize that it's happening to almost everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's the message to women here is, be confident, be strong. This is what's happening to most women, and let's work to change it. But also, it's a message to men in the workplace that, let's pay attention to these issues. These are important things that we have to work on changing.
But how is this any different than any other business out there? I mean, it happens everywhere. Banking, broadcasting, you name it.
We're not saying it is any different.
Yeah.
It's just we were, the tech community is a pretty tight community. There's been a lot of conversation, and so we figured we'll use our networks. We'll go out and survey the people that we know in this community and get a sense for it. And so that's what we did, but we're absolutely telling folks, take this idea, take our survey, go take the temperature of other industries, other demographics. This is a valuable process to go through.
So since you've done this, do you feel like there's been any sort of change in the environment where you're working?
I feel like it sparked a lot of conversation. I think, true change is going to take a long time and is going to be slow. But I'm glad that people are paying attention, and it really seems like we've struck a nerve. So that's great.
It does take one person to come forward. I know when I was over at CNN and I was pregnant, I remember I was concerned about saying something, but just before me, there was a woman who actually had a lawsuit out there because she was pregnant and she felt like she was treated unfairly. So by the time I came around, the doors just opened up. They're like, no problem, take whatever time you need. So I benefited from, what she suffered through. But because she spoke out, it benefited me and it benefited women behind me. So it's a good thing to do that. It's really, really important to try and not be scared and really just get your voice out there heard. Now, down here in Los Angeles, where we're located, we've got Silicon Beach is really developing. Do you think a lot of the businesses have come down here to just expand or come down here because the environment's a different environment down here? What are your thoughts?
Well, so personally, I don't have a lot of direct investing experience in LA, but there are folks in LA who have a whole set of experiences and expertise that are different from up here in the Valley, where there's a lot of technology that's done an incredible amount for media companies, for example, but we don't have people that understand media in the same way that folks in LA do. Mm-hmm. So, so there are, a number of really interesting companies and opportunities down in LA.
Well, very well. So let me hear a little bit about you. So you're a mother of 3. And
I am.
You work there full time.
I do.
It's pretty incredible. How do you manage to do all this? And you're out there maybe trying to get this out there to be heard. Where do you find the time in your day to do all this? I could barely even get to the studio on time. Believe me, that's true.
Yeah. Well, first up, I have a great husband who, really splits the load with me. And, I've also been fortunate that I've been able to have a wonderful nanny help us out over the years. When I first started out in my career, I had to rely on daycare. But, I've built up, I don't have local family to rely on. So basically I've had to rely on someone who's helped us run our house. Mm-hmm. And so when you've got, our nanny is as crucial to me as, all of my folks in a work environment as well, if not way more. And so she helps keeping things running smoothly while I'm not home. And then when I do get home, I walk in the door and I can sit down and eat dinner with my kids and just focus on quality time with them and getting my work done. And so, that's been a big part of it. Also just, it's a ruthless focus on the important things and just not doing the things that don't move the needle. So I say no to a lot of things that are just not going to make a difference for me.
Can you share with us one of the sort of craziest, nastiest stories that may have happened that you read about that somebody said?
Oh gosh, from these anecdotes,
yeah,
there
I'd like to hear one.
There are lots,
Give me one or
and
two.
I can't. Yeah. Let's see. Let me just pick an area. So maternity leave, I thought was a really interesting thing that we pulled women on, and there were a couple of again, not surprising, but themes that came out. One was that when women went on maternity leave, their teams would get rated. And so, not only were they, going, having these babies and figuring out how to just heal personally and get the 100% again so that they could get back to work. But while that was going on, their teams were being raided, and no one was sort of watching out for that back at the shop. There was another anecdote from a woman who said, I was out on maternity leave and I missed the review cycle, and because of that, I missed my raise for the year.
Ooh.
Little things like,
Okay.
really, they couldn't reschedule a review. So, so I wouldn't say those are the worst, but those are just examples of just, someone not thinking at a company that resulted in really bad experiences for women at that job.
You're doing a great job getting all this out there, and I really appreciate you coming on. This is really important stuff. All of us, men and women, need to pay attention to it, not just up where you are, but in all businesses. So I really applaud you for doing this and for taking a leading role in all this. So thank you very much. And again, the survey, The Elephant in the Valley, and we've got Trae Vassalo, correct? I said that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
yep. And
very good.
The URL is elephantinthevalley.com if anyone wants to add their experiences to our anecdotes. That would be wonderful.
And it could be across the board. You don't really have to be in that business. You can be anywhere, correct?
It can be anywhere.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good to know. All right, thank you very much. Trae, thanks for being on, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you.
Okay. We're good? That was pretty interesting. I
Yes,
mean,
it was.
it's happened to me. I've had some of the nastiest things happen to me when I first started out my career. I can't even believe it. People would be calling me into my office, and it was nasty stuff.
I can imagine that. That's just to undergo that is just sucks.
Yep, it does. And you just have to be really strong and not cave into it and not be afraid. And I was afraid.
Yeah.
And I was afraid every day. But
Right.
you just have to keep your head up high and just hope that you get another job, which is what happened to me. It's interesting. One of the guys who was really, really nasty, I'll just say it, he ended up working for the Fox network after all that. And I was doing a story. I was working on O.J. Simpson, and I ran into him, and I looked at him because he knew how really nasty he was to me early on in my career. And I just stared him down, and he looked at me, and he goes, "I'm sorry." And I thought, well, he kind of had to do that. But he was a nasty guy anyway. So you don't forget that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so we're going to take a super quick break because next we've got on Tay Allyn, right? This is kind of a cool story.
Yeah.
Is she there? Tay, you there?
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for being. I wasn't even sure you were on. I was passing little notes over to Kurt. I'm like,
Yeah.
is she there or not?
Yeah.
I
got to learn sign language.
Yeah, you got to
somehow.
learn sign language. Like Deborah, she's here.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to play your a little bit of your YouTube video, okay? And then we'll
Okay.
come right back and talk to you,
Okay,
all right?
sure.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Hey, so we've been talking for a while, and I thought we were cool. Did I miss something?
Why did I get your mass text? I'm in your contacts. Why did I get your mass text? I'm in your contacts. Why did I get your mass text? I'm in your contacts. Why did I get your mass text? I'm in your
The
contacts.
party invite's made, and you just press send.
Why did I get your mass text? Why did I get your mass text?
I'm confused because I got left out again.
Why did I get your mass text? Why did I get your mass text?
I like you, this is not enough. Trying to read you, oh, it's so tough.
Why did I get your mass text?
So, why didn't I?
Tay? Hello, Tay?
Yes.
Okay. So we just played sort of the top of that. Is that you? That's you in the video, right?
Oh, that's me.
Oh, you're adorable. You are so cute. So okay, this
Oh,
thing
you're
is
so
called,
sweet.
okay, gee, let me think. This thing is called mass text. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yes, mass text asking, the famous question of our time. Why didn't I get your mass text?
I know, but there's a whole story behind this thing. So you made that when you were at USC, correct?
Yes, so I went to USC, and then I had been graduated for about a year and a half,
Yeah.
and was sort of just a struggling actress musician working at a cheesecake factory, and looked back to sort of, what would make me special in a sense and differentiate myself from the other women my age. And in pop music, there was no one who was making pop songs just about your normal everyday life. So I did a Kickstarter, and I raised about $3,000, and then went and made Mass Text.
Okay. But from there, how many views do you have on YouTube? Like 3 or 4 million?
Over 4 million.
Okay, how did you do that? Because this is sort of an exercise in how did you do that? You know, that's a lot of views. I mean, you know, from a girl who just sort of decided to do something, you know, USC to getting 4 million views on there, and what's happened since. So tell me a little bit about that. How did you grow this thing?
Sure, absolutely. Since that happened, which is about 2 years ago from right now, I have learned so much about the internet and social media, which we can absolutely dive into. But when I tell the story of how this happened, part of it was, yes, this girl at USC who sort of went to that, but there was also a ton of thought socially about what I felt resonated in our culture, and using the social skills that I'd amassed growing up that I feel like really are the base for why that took off when it did. So, you know, when I was in college, I ran the Theater Students Association. Me and my friends were always making these dorky videos, and I made it a real priority of mine to be social and really like gather groups of people together. I would throw parties, throw events, and see what resonated with people. So once I graduated and I was looking back sort of at that vibrant girl in college and being like, you know, where did she go? Where is that girl? I had done a preview version of Mass Text while I was in school, just a really low budget version with some friends and a camera. And it had kind of gone viral on campus because no woman especially had ever done anything like that.
Here we go.
Sometimes
no woman had done anything like that. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sure, yeah. Sometimes I compare what I do to Weird Al Yankovic a bit, but there was no woman who was sort of just taking these social norms. I also call what I do the Seinfeld of pop music. You know, talking about these mundane issues that are relatable, the things that really bond you with people, and also things that are not R-rated, because I come from a small town in Texas, and I was not riding in a car with P. Diddy or snorting cocaine, you know, off of a washer and dryer at a party, which is in a lot of our music. Like, I would freak out not getting a text message from a guy, or another one of my songs is about cleaning your room and having a dirty room, but still being a superstar, which is true. My room is a disaster right now, and I have 4 million YouTube views.
Right,
so
but
really just showing people that you can have this kind of relatability in your entertainment.
But a lot of people have written from their heart and written through their experiences, and they could barely get, you know, up to a couple of thousand hits. So how did you end up getting up to 4 million hits? It's just sort of, I know when you say it went viral, but what does that even mean? And did that equate into, you know, a certain amount of money for you? I guess it did. Like, what happened next?
Sure. Oh yeah, I am very transparent with this whole process. So I make the video, and then, you know, smart, educated woman, so I would read Billboard or Rolling Stone and try and do my research on, okay, well, you know, at that time, pop music and new music was released on Tuesdays. And so I'm going to put mine up on a Tuesday. And this is the hour window that most people watch YouTube videos. And this is me just Googling and taking time at night and sort of just like thinking of these ideas. I had no agent, no manager, no record label, nothing. So I put those tools together, and I put up the video, and it was, I think, 4:30 p.m. Los Angeles time on a Tuesday, which was the day for new music. And what the first sign I had that something was happening was that the views were stopped at 301 plus views. And when that happens, that is Google telling you that the views are happening so quickly that it cannot keep up with the view count. At the time, I was like, wait, 301 plus, like, what? I'm seeing all these comments, but the views aren't going up, and I didn't understand what's happening. A huge thing that helped this go viral, and so I offer it to anyone else who's looking to put out videos now, was that very early on, Reddit found the video. And I wound up on multiple different Reddit threads. Some of them were cringe, some of them were comedy, some people loved it and thought that it was, you know, the new genius song of the 2000s. I mean, I have fans.
Yeah, and then you got a lot
all across the spectrum.
You got a lot of criticism too. Like, this is a lousy song. I mean, I read a little bit about that too, but still, it didn't matter. It went viral anyway. People loved it.
Yeah, and you know what's so great, and really what I've taken away from it, and now when I talk about social media or I work on videos now, is that for for the 90,000 dislikes I have, the 10,000 likes are the most fervent, passionate, amazing fans anyone could ever have. They will follow me through thick and thin. I can put up a picture of me brushing my teeth, and
What toothpaste are you using? Right.
Pardon me?
It's kind of like, oh, then what toothpaste are you using? I mean, in other words, they're so into anything you're doing.
There's a bit of what toothpaste, but what it is more so is like I've become the tastemaker or champion for our awkward sense of humor.
Got
and
it.
that they relate it, like that there's a pride that they see in understanding what I was going for. And what's so great about that is because my video was sort of a litmus test for whether we had the same sense of humor or not, now when I do that sort of thing, they're just always on board. They're always on point. I look at things that my fans do, and I find it incredibly entertaining. We have our own hashtag called BEAWK, BEAWK, and it's just being awkward all the time. Because,
that's me.
Well, I can go and like talk it. Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, so we'll just put up random pictures from our everyday lives and say hashtag BEAWK, and it's sort of like the more awkward, the better.
So, but you've got all these views. What's, are you getting money from this? I mean, like, how are you transforming this into dollars and growing your brand even more so? Like, what's next after all the, getting these 4 million? That's a lot too. And how long did it take to get that many, by the way?
I had an initial surge that got me to around 2 million, and then it was picked up by some other popular YouTubers, which helped.
I've
put out videos since that have gotten, hundreds of thousands, and no complaints there. But to answer your question, so when the video was going viral, I did not even have AdSense set up on my YouTube account because I was new to YouTube, and I had to quickly sign with Fullscreen. And Fullscreen is one of the top multi-channel networks. And I'm very transparent about the money that I make and my relationship with these different companies because I feel like there's a responsibility on my part not to misinform young kids who may want to start YouTube channels. Or I go to these YouTube functions and hear, high schoolers saying they don't want to go to college. They just want to make a YouTube channel. And off of my 4 million views, I've made approximately $2,800. And I have the top ads. I have the 30-second ones that you can't, skip past. I'm supposedly being publicized onto all the more popular videos because of my partnership. And the money is very terrible.
Did you say $2,800? Is that what you said?
$2,800 for 4 million views.
Okay, but this leads me to a point. Is this just become all one big popularity contest? Like, I got 4 million people, in which case, the ego feels good. Anybody's ego, yours, anybody else who's out there who's looking to get more and more views, hits, whatever. But then at the end of the day, the end game is you're making $2,800. So what is the end game? To keep getting more and more hits? Is it the money? Is it to grow into a different business? Because I feel like everyone out there is like, how many hits do you have? How many this? And I think, geez, is that all that really matters? And does it really come in? Are the dollars coming in with it? Do you know what I mean?
Well, exactly. And that is what's so frustrating. And I speak very openly. I go to conferences and do talks all the time about these numbers because it is a huge injustice to content creators and the way that YouTube is set up. And that's, a very long discussion for another. The base fact is that there is not a lot of money there. And everyone points to that handful of YouTube celebrities that are making, tens of millions. Well, there's a handful of people in any industry who are making that, but that's not how it actually works. And for my Twitter followers, I'm not getting paid for that either. So there is thought in social media that it's all about these amount of followers and views. And there are a couple companies and brands who are getting smart and starting to realize that it's not really about the number of views, it's about the engagement. And
it is about the engagement. My husband works in radio, and they're very passionate when they listen to him because they really believe in him. He can sell them anything, and they'll buy it. And he doesn't particularly even care about Twitter numbers, about YouTube. It's just that the people who listen to him are so passionate. So it's about people. It's great that people may be watching the video, but are they passionate enough to buy what you have to do whatever you have to tell them? Do you know that? Have you tested that out yet? Have you actually gone out there and gotten somebody to represent you to say, hey, she's got 4 million views. Here's what she can do for your product. Have you been out there and been tested yet?
Sure, absolutely. So that's been, a process over the last 2 years. And again, working with Fullscreen, they have managers. I've had managers as well. And it's just very difficult. There's not a lot of education. A lot of people are still so mystified by social media that they're taken in and spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a Snapchat ad, but not really understanding what that means and throwing around views. And I can speak from my perspective. I'm also friends with a lot of YouTubers who are getting 4 million views per video. And, they're all having the same problem. A lot of them now are starting to write books. They're kind of going back to the normal telltale ways of making money, trying to get film deals. But TV and film is dying because we have the rise of Netflix now, and the networks can really survive. So entertainment currently in America is quite scary, honestly.
Well, it's just
there's
transitioning.
Very little support for the creative.
It's transitioning, is what it is. I always like to go way back into history. Remember, there were silent movies, and people were like, "Oh my God, now they're going to have talkies." And same when they used to have radio, and then they went to television, and people didn't believe in that. You just have to be willing to evolve with the next level, and just look ahead with it. But the point that I'm trying to make is, you may have a lot of viewers. And that's the goal for so many of these young people. That just isn't necessarily so important. And a lot of their self-worth is tied up in it. Egos are tied up in it. But at the end of the day, there's really, you have to have something to sell, or you really won't make any money with it at all. You could spend your whole day just responding back and forth to the people who are viewing you. But is it really helping with anything? Do you know what I mean? You have to be smart about it.
No, I agree with you. I'd love to know where you think the future of this is going, because it's a difficult topic. And then having something to sell too, is that getting a sponsorship? Are you then creating a product, a book? It's all tricky.
I don't know. It comes down to having a platform. It's almost like you've got a platform. You go out and you speak to other people and you say, listen, I may have a lot of numbers, but I'm not necessarily making any money. So here, I'm out to talk to you guys about here's what you can do and how you can make money, because you have to stand for something. It's almost like you can't put something out there without a plan, But so that would be my guess for you. What's your next step now that you've got this out there and you're on the map, but you're trying to make money with it, right?
Absolutely. Well, I am very invested in the future of entertainment, and I think I have a very unique perspective from having this virality and all of this success, but then knowing the brass tacks about the numbers as well. And so I split my time between LA and Austin. And for example, we have South by Southwest coming up this week, and I'm very committed. I go to tech conferences out here. I work with small businesses. I'm meeting these new up-and-coming entrepreneurs, seeing what that next social entertainment platform is going to be and where digital entertainment is going. Because again, I can say all the things that I know are wrong with YouTube and why I think personally it's not going to make it long term. And then, being in the TV and film world in LA and knowing the issues there. So what is going to be that next platform? What is that next Netflix? Right now we have Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, all these competing sources. Yahoo's trying to do original programming, and none of it's really working. So what is going to be the social version of that combines independent content creators, but with one of those bigger platforms? And I think that that's out there. And I want to be on the cutting edge of it, so I become a billionaire.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good plan, but you need research. You need people to go out there, and you need something that people gravitate toward and that they're interested in. So I don't know. It's a good discussion. I'm glad you came on our show, though. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always
So
talking about this.
where can we see you
It's
next?
interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. YouTube.com/Tay Allyn. I'm always putting up content. I'm going to be filming a lot at South by. And if people are more interested in this, I gave an hour-long talk at the Macomb School of Business where I sort of walk them through how I set up my YouTube channel, what my MCN looks like, and there's a lot of information in that too, so I want to check it out.
All right, Tay, thanks a lot for being on with us, okay? And we'll check it out. That's Tay Allyn. Thanks for being on with us.
Okay.
When my producer Misty initially talked to me about her, I kept saying, is she still on or no?
Nope, she's gone.
Good. Because what I wanted to say was when she initially talked to me about her, I said, why? So she's got 4 million hits or views or whatever,
Yeah.
but what is she doing with it? I mean, I have a real issue with so much social media because I feel like it's great. I feel like it's terrific, but you got to do something with it. You have to have a plan, an end game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't have that plan and an end game. However, I have 3 amazing, amazing young women in the studio with me. Do we have them on camera?
Yes, we do.
Here they are. Oh my gosh, how gorgeous are these girls? Can you
Stunning.
introduce yourself? This first one here with like the beautiful like sweater or whatever you want to call that. Catherine Kobylt. She's my niece. How gorgeous is she, right? Oh. She's on spring break with her 2 friends from Penn State. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Madeline Shutt. I'm Catherine Fiorello.
Oh my gosh, aren't they cute? They've been staying with me for like the past 4 or 5 days, and now I have to take them back. I mean, I don't want them to go back. I'm so upset. They're going to go on a studio tour after this, and then back.
Nice.
Then and then they leave for home. And however, you know, with Tay, she was so interested in getting hits and popularity.
Yeah.
2 of these girls are moving on after they graduate, and they're going to Africa.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I'll have them very, very briefly tell you about that. And then we've got Maddie, the one in the middle. She's interested in, you know, work and being more behind the scenes and sort of developing and all that. But it's really a dichotomy as opposed to the young woman that we just spoke with, which is terrific. She's got her interests and she's interested in growing socially, her social media. But, you know, the contrast here is, for example, Catherine, my niece, who's going off to Africa to be in the Peace Corps for the next 2 years. I won't even see her for 2 years. Talk about, you know, no social media. Are you even going to have any out there?
Yeah. I mean, at most, I'm going to have a cell phone, not a smartphone, but, you know, back to the old days, maybe a flip phone.
But it's so different to what's going on out there in the world here. You know, so many people think it's important to get hits. You know, in the world of Kardashian, how many does she have? How many millions or trillions of people that are viewing her Twitter? And it's like, to what purpose, actually, at the end of the day? For one's ego? I mean, wait a minute. Didn't she just put one out? She was nude on Twitter. I mean, I don't care about people's bodies. Like, they could do what they want. They can show up naked in the studio for all I care. But eventually...
Oh, I'll remember that.
Oh, you will? We'll talk about that later. But, you know, after a while, it just becomes to be...
consuming.
Consuming, a little disgusting and off-putting. You know, where's the value in wanting to do something of value? So I'm really impressed with the 3 of you girls. Let's start with you again. So you're going to the Peace Corps really briefly because we don't even have that much time. Why did you decide to do that in a world of young people your age who are more interested in themselves?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you're on a college campus, I go to Penn State, you know, everyone's really career focused, and that's awesome, and I am too. But in the long
You're a
scheme of
meteorology major.
Yes,
Yeah.
I study meteorology.
I think you should go on TV out here when you come back. So
Maybe
I'll
one
have to
day.
hook you up. So we'll
Yeah.
figure that out. But yeah, go ahead.
You know, taking 2 years of your life right after college and doing something for other people and maybe not focusing on yourself and getting consumed by everything here in America, I don't know, I would just find it to be kind of grounding. And, you know, it's not like I'm going there for 20 years, it's 2 years. And right now it might seem like a long time, but I don't know, you just come back a changed person, and then I'll start my career.
But so different from what we
yeah.
were just talking about. And what about you, Katie?
So I'm doing donor communications and public relations for a secondary school for vulnerable girls, also in Tanzania.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you're both going to be in Tanzania.
Yes.
Was that just by coincidence that you're both in
Completely.
Tanzania?
Yes.
It's not like you said, I need to be near Katie so I could see her on the weekends. It wasn't anything
Yeah.
like that.
No, but now it is
Now
that.
it is
Now it is that. Well, my
Yeah.
boys went to Sri Lanka last year, and you know, Jordan, the middle kid, stayed longer than Justin, and
Yeah.
every weekend they bolted and they would try and find something interesting to do to learn more about the country. So now that I mean, Tanzania is a big place, but hopefully you'll be close enough that you can see each other from time to time.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
But you're
for
both
sure.
doing such amazing work. I'm so proud of the two of you. I
Thank you
really
so
am. And you're just
much.
going for a year.
Yeah,
going.
mine's an open-ended volunteer position just for a year. I'm not going through the Peace Corps or anything. I was a school that I sort of found through my professional network, through past internships and stuff like that. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And Maddie, Miss Maddie. So you came out here actually on your spring break, and you were talking to a couple people about getting some work out here, and you're interested in sports broadcasting, right?
Yes, that's correct. So
Okay, I've never known you to be quiet. You've been staying in my house for like 3 and 4 days. She's like the noisiest one of the bunch. It's so typical. The noisiest one is suddenly like this when the camera's on. So
No, yeah, I want to work behind the scenes in production. I've had some great opportunities through Penn State, just working with different companies like ESPN and Major League Baseball, Big Ten Network. So all the jobs are pretty much immediate fill. So right now it's just applying and seeing what interviews you get, and then hopefully a year from now I'll get to come visit them in Africa. That's
I'll go
the
with you.
plan. Yeah. So and I know that they're gonna travel while they're there, and they're trying to convince me to go and do documentary films in Africa.
oh, that'd be wonderful. But I mean, the three of you really have a big heart, and it seems like you're more interested in doing something for somebody else as opposed to bringing it all in for yourselves.
Yeah.
And that's very impressive to me. But really quickly, what's your take on what's going on with the social media thing? Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, where everybody just wants to one up and get a little more. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, just like anything, there's positives and negatives.
Yeah.
I'm actually not a great example because I don't have a lot of social media. I just
She
She
has
uses
none.
ours. So
How about you guys?
yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely a way to express yourself.
No, but I mean, don't you think people are like obsessed
yeah,
with
I
wanting
think it's
like more and
consumed.
more?
Yeah, I definitely
that's-
think that
The
it's
thought of buying Instagram followers just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand that.
I asked somebody, I said, how do you get more followers when you only have so many friends in
Yeah.
the first place?
Yeah.
And they
you
said
know,
that you can buy them apparently.
well, people said you need to buy them initially. Otherwise, I don't know. And then those friends find you. And I thought, really? That just seems so false.
I know
because
yeah.
how do you sell that to an advertiser? I mean, if you're looking from a purely business standpoint, how do you even sell that to somebody? That's just what I always say.
Yeah.
But that's the business. I mean, people, it's almost like the business of kind of like bullshit, right? I mean, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is so integrated in today's world, though. I mean, businesses, that's how they're advertising. You meet someone and it's, oh, follow me on Instagram. It's like, I haven't known you for a day.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And it's like, do I really care about what you're doing every second or posting your pictures? I mean, maybe, but
It's a little invasive. I personally think it's a little bit, just a little egotistical. And someone that I'm working with said, oh, you got to post more pictures of yourself. And I'm like, why? Why do people really care about what I'm doing? So sometimes I run out there and I post something where I'm working and on a red carpet. And frankly, it's embarrassing to me, but I do it.
I just think like when you're in high school, it's such a big thing in high school now, and high school girls getting consumed by that. It's only going to get worse, and in high school you already have so much to worry about, and so all of that peer pressure of how many likes did you get on this picture, it's not a great mindset. So
Anything else? I hear one of you guys wanted to say something.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
not even that. I just think Instagram especially started as a place to post interesting photos, I always think like of food.
Your adventures.
Yeah, your adventures. And I feel like it's become such a, here's my face.
A selfie
like, here's
war.
a selfie.
Here's my face, and I had like so much fun with all these friends, and you weren't invited.
Yeah.
Here's
That's
3
hurtful.
filters on
I
it.
know it's
Yeah.
happened to me. It must have happened to you guys too.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
and
goodness! And I
People's
think,
lives look perfect.
And
on the
yeah,
internet.
and they
it's-
look perfect, and I
yeah.
think,
Yeah.
how come I never look like them? And then I think,
that's the
they
problem
edit
then.
it. They edit it.
but then I think they're not that cute in person. Like I'm better looking.
I know.
but they look better in that picture.
You never
and
want
it
someone to
pisses
be
me
like,
off.
oh, you look different in your pictures. Like, oh, it's embarrassing.
Everybody I know looks amazing. Kurt, you're laughing. What's so funny?
No, it's the same thing with me.
He looks
What,
amazing.
you don't look
Yeah.
as cute in your pictures,
I bet
or
you
what's
could
going
slay
on?
a selfie though.
Oh yeah,
Are you saying
I-
so? Like you're like,
I-
oh my god, I don't look that good in this picture, and all my friends are way more handsome.
No, I just get jealous of all my friends. Like, oh, this person's going to this trip. This person's doing that. I'm like, man, I'm just working.
Okay.
It's the same with Snapchat. Like we're all on spring break right now, and all we do is look at everyone else's Snapchats of their spring break.
I think we're having a great spring
We're having a
break.
Hey, but you're in
Hey,
LA,
everyone's
okay?
jealous
And
of
you've been
ours.
like doing the whole celebrity thing and seeing people on your bike ride and all that. So
yeah.
I would
Well
say
done,
you
Vicki.
probably have the best
killed
Instagram.
it.
Oh no,
right?
everyone's
And
jealous of our
Snapchat.
spring break. but-
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
Well, you girls have been so delightful. I'm so glad that you came today,
Yeah,
and I'm
you.
so
Thank you
glad
so
that you
much.
like helped me end the show on like a really fun note because
Yeah.
you guys are just amazing. I'm really proud of the three of you, and it's
Thank you
been
so
I
much.
can't
Yeah,
believe
thank you
it.
so much for having us.
Yeah, right, Kurt? Weren't they amazing?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Kind of a breath of fresh air out here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no. Normally we just get call-ins, so it's nice when we actually have people in the studio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's nice. Anyway, it was another fun day. So
I liked it.
Yeah, so We'll be back next Wednesday.
Of course.
Watch what's going on next Tuesday night, will you please? Because it's a big night.
Okay.
We're going to see who takes Florida. You know I'm interested in this. At least
Oh,
just
yeah.
read the skim or something so you can figure out what's going on.
Okay.
You can cheat.
I'll
Which
try
is what
and
I do
I'll give you
anyway.
that. I'll give you that at least.
Okay, you got it. All right, everybody. So thanks for tuning in. Another edition of Kobylt and Friends. Everybody, thanks for being on, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.